McFarlane, and my mother was the sixth daughter of C.D.
I'm Joe McFarlane. I'm 17 years old and I'm the great-grandson of Charles Wong.
My name is Warren Lohr, and I'm the #1 son of the #3 daughter, Anne, of C.D. Hoy.
Hi, I'm Annika McFarlane. I'm 14 years old and I'm the great-granddaughter of C.D. Hoy.
Hi, I'm Larissa McFarlane. I'm 11 years old and I'm the great-granddaughter of C.D. Hoy.
My family, I have a brother, we moved to Quesnel in 1955, and we moved into the house my grandfather built, the Hoy house. It was built in 1934. Now, my grandfather came over, was born in 1883, so he would have been in his 60s when we lived in the house. So I have a number of memories of my grandfather. Sort of first and foremost, him being at the store. He had an office at the store. He was long retired. He often entertained customers and friends, and they'd come and visit him in his little office. I think it's fascinating the number of different things he did, number of different jobs he took to make some money to survive. The fact that he even hired a tutor to teach him English for like $5 when he only earned $5 a month. All the different jobs that he'd taken, the languages he had to learn, all the things that he had to do and really not only survive, but I would say it was a success.
Very good survival instincts.
Because we lived in Quesnel, there was a number of native reservations around Quesnel, and so there was a lot of natives or Aboriginal people in the town. Many would come into the store to buy things. I was also quite aware of the relatively small Chinese population because they were mainly friends of C.D. Hoy or of my family. So we knew most of the Chinese families. But it was very different growing up in Quesnel, as I'm sure it is different for you kids growing up in North Van. And I would
special work. Definitely a lot less work.
And I'm sure it would be valuable if your mom and your dad took you up to Quesnel sometime.
The project was you're supposed to do something about the past of BC or Canada, mostly BC, and my mom came up with the idea of my great-grandfather, and because he was, well, basically we wanted to make it more personalized than anyone else's projects. Before this project, I knew virtually nothing about who he was. I think I knew his name at most. That's about all. So this was a very big understanding of my family's past, basically. What I wrote, the main topic of my project was his 17 different jobs, and through those jobs I basically portrayed his life and how he was living. And so he started out in China, and his parents were very poor, like the majority of China at that time, too much population, the government was greedy, all that sort of stuff. And then basically, so his father told him that the best way to make money would be to move to Canada. So he did that. He borrowed about $300 from his father and then moved all the way to Canada, all the way to Vancouver actually, specifically. And for the first little while, he wasn't very successful at helping his family. He barely made do with himself. He started out as a houseboy, and he was paid $5 a month, so that was a pretty low salary. Then after that, he managed to become a dishwasher, which was actually a larger salary than a houseboy, 3 times as much, $15 a month. And he was good at washing dishes, and he started helping around in the kitchen, that sort of stuff. And then he became a cook. And he worked at, he was working at the Hudson Bay Company, actually. He was washing dishes and cooking for them, and he worked there for about 2 years. And then, well, basically he saw what the Hudson Bay Company was doing. He saw they were very good at fur trading, basically. And so he wanted to try to do that for himself. And so he went out, started buying furs, started selling them. But it wasn't a very good idea to compete with the Hudson Bay Company since they had such a monopoly over that sort of stuff. And so basically at that point he started losing money. And so he decided that was not a very good idea, moved to Barkerville, and became a pan miner, which is, you take a pan, look for gold in the rivers and stuff. He didn't do good at that job either because the river actually froze over. Then after that, the closest job by was a lumberjack. Well, so he became a lumberjack. And after that, he saw what the people, basically he was cutting wood for surveyors and stuff, and so he decided to become a surveyor, but he also didn't really like that job very much, so he quit that. After that, this is when he started becoming successful. He moved to Quesnel, actually. He became a photographer. He also started cutting people's hair, and then he'd repair watches too. So, and then using money from that, he became a general store owner. Shortly after he started becoming successful as like a general store owner and that sort of stuff, his mom arranged a wedding for him. And he wasn't really happy about that because he had just started being able to pay for his family and himself. And as soon as he returned, he became a farmhand. Then he decided to try and buy and sell cattle, but after that he tried to do the same with gold. So he became a gold vendor, gold seller. And he wasn't good at that. And then he started owning land and selling land, which, as with cattle, he was also bad at. So he stopped doing that and just rebought his general store. But then in 1970, Safeway started becoming a big thing, and he realized he couldn't compete with them, so he actually sold his general store at that point. He owned his general store for a total of 60 years, though. Near the end of his life and career, he built and became the owner of Wells Lights and Power Company. He basically supplied power to the entire western side of Wells. And he also owned a theater. He made good profits from most of that stuff and had a very good life. He would have liked to have a few more jobs though, because he wasn't able to get an education at any point within those years. So he wanted to become maybe a teacher, doctor, lawyer, banker, engineer, but just wasn't able to get an education, was too busy working. So he would have liked to do that, but he always lacked the education. So that was basically his life. See, I don't know anything about my dad's side of the family, so it's rather interesting when I think about it because I know a lot about one grandparents. I think you'd probably want to know about one side of your family line just because it's a very interesting experience.
So Annika decided to do, her project was C.D. Hoy's store, and these were some of the objects that might have been sold in there.
Well, this is a chewing tobacco can, and I think he sold it in his store. Well, all the stuff he sold in his store. And then this is a teapot, and a cup. And these are his shears that he used for barbering. And a watch, because he used to repair watches. And a cowbell. I would probably say that he was a photographer, and he took a bunch of really important pictures that show what it was like in a small town, and that he owned a general store. That was pretty interesting. It has a lot of, and we have a lot of stuff that was sold in that store. Well, I think it's good to know where you come from, and we didn't really, well, I don't think we really cared that much, but now that we know, it's important, and it's interesting too. It's interesting to see where they're from and what they did and who they are and everything, and so now we know.
I did the photography of Chow Dong Hoi and compared it to mine. So his photography was around 100 years ago and mine was 2 years ago. So this one is my great-grandfather that he took with his camera. And so I tried to kind of do the same style with mine, but different, of course. This one is a picture of me and my sister that my brother took for his project. Yeah. So he also tried to do the same style as the Hoi, which was supposed to be serious, because if you look in the pictures, they're all pretty serious, but you couldn't contain yourself, so you're smiling. How did he take pictures of himself? He would attach a string onto the shutter release, which is this, and there's a little hole in it so he could attach it, and he would pull the string when he wanted to take the picture. I learned that it was kind of amazing how he had all these things. Yeah, and when I read my brother's project and how he did some of the jobs, it was interesting. Yeah.
Happiness like this is rare. And I'm going down to the general store in the cowboy bar right next door. Gonna dance to the local band and raise a glass to this mountain land. Raise a glass to this mountain land. When you come from the sea, everything is strange. The prairie lands and the mountain range. You let go of your fear and your lonely rage. You take a deep breath and you turn the page. Well, you can do it together, you can do it apart. You can use your head or you can use your heart, but be sure that you try with all your might to make your heavy load seem light. And I'm going down to the general store.
And so that's really the essence of what using technology is. It's not technology for an end in itself, just because it's gee whiz and cool, but because technology is a tool to allow us to do better what we all aim to do, which is to transfer knowledge between generations so that the young don't forget what the old went through, so that the elders, don't think that they've been forgotten, ignored, left behind, as if they're irrelevant. So often, when we first ask an elder to do an oral history, they're very reticent because, oh, I didn't do anything interesting. I had a very boring life. But when it's someone in their own family, a younger person in their family saying, please, can you tell us the story of your life? The transformation, and you see it again and again, is amazing. Because what you get there is this new sense now that there isn't a forgetting, that within that family itself, you have younger people who actually care about what their parents, their grandparents did. And that, to me, is the magic. And if you can capture that within classrooms and within this kind of larger sense of education and public history, then you've got something. And so I'll end with that. I think using new genres to do history, we're all thinking historically, actually, at any moment. Otherwise, you're an amnesiac and you don't even know who you are. So history and memory and identity are all intertwined. And so I think that's the way to approach what we're doing. Thanks.